So here's the big question. How are entrepreneurs like us, who have been hustling and struggling to make it to success, who seem to make it one step forward only to fall two steps back, who are dedicated, determined, and driven, how do we finally break through and win? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brian Kelly, and this is the Mind, Body, Business Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mind, Body, Business Show. Woo, we have got a stellar show lined up for you tonight, and I cannot wait to introduce you to an amazing young man by the name of Blaine Oelkers. He is a really great guy. I can tell we've gotten to know each other a little bit just before the show. Family man. He's got kids. He's a wonderful guy, and he's also very successful. And that's why he's on this show, is to help you to take your business to that next level. Truly, that is what this show is about. It is about what I call the 3 pillars of success. And they are the very name of this show, the components. Mind being mindset. So I studied nothing but very successful people for a period of about a decade, through mentors of mine who I worked with personally, through authors of books, some of whom I've met, some I've not, others who may not be with us anymore, who have long been passed before I even knew of them. And what I learned in this walk, in this journey, was that to a person, they had these 3 qualities. And I started off with mind being mindset. What is that? It is, to a person, these individuals had not only a very powerful and positive, but even more importantly, flexible mindset. And then body. To a person, they each took care of themselves, both physically and nutritionally. Literally, that's all what body is about. And then business. Business is very multifaceted, because one must master an array of skill sets in order to become successful in any business, and then to scale it beyond where you are now. And the beautiful thing is, because there are many skill sets, there are skill sets like marketing, sales, team building, systematizing, leadership. I could go on for quite some time. And to master any one thing, being an astute listener and viewer of this show, you know that can take a very long time. The good news is you don't have to master every single skill set that's required. If you just mastered one of those skill sets that I just mentioned, it was one of those 4 or 5 that I just rattled off, then you can skip the line, so to speak, and get your business on track much quicker than by trying to master every one of these skill sets individually. And that one skill set, if you master it, that will give you that skip the line attribute, is the skill set of, are you ready? Leadership. Yes. And even if you don't have a team right now, leading yourself, get in the habit of leading yourself in very profound ways. Read books about it. We'll be talking about that in just a moment as well. And learn how to become the best leader you can be. And once you've really dialed in the leadership skills, you can then bring on those individuals that have mastered the skill sets that you have yet to or may never master yourself. So that's the good news. It's really good news. So you concentrate on leadership and developing that skill set, and then you can really take your business to the next level much faster than if you were to do it all on your own. And that's what this show truly is all about. It's about modeling successful people like Blaine, who's coming on here in just a moment, I promise. And another fantastic attribute I learned about very successful people is that to a person, they are also very avid readers of books. And with that, I'd like to segue real quickly into a small segment I affectionately call Bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yeah, there you see it. Reachyourpeaklibrary.com. And a real quick, what I call soapbox moment for all of you. I have a little bit of advice, and that is, you're going to be presented with several resources during this show. This is the first, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. What I would implore upon you to do is, instead of clicking away and going and checking it out on another tab or a different computer or another device, instead get out that old-fashioned pen and pencil or put it on your notepad on your tablet or computer and write them down and wait until the show is over, then go back to your notes and then visit them all individually after the show is over. Why do I say that? I've spoken on stage for years. I was a lead trainer for one seminar industry. I created my own seminar company as well. And what I've learned was, when you're on stage, when you're getting to the good part. When that transformational message is about to go out. And then you see someone get up from the audience and walk out the door because they had to go to the restroom or they had that all important text or phone call that came in. Well, they just missed out on what could have changed their life forever. And I knew it. And it just irked me. I didn't like that because for them, they missed out. And for you, I would hate for you to miss out because your focus is taken off somewhere else. That's all that's about. So just do yourself a favor, not just for this show, but for future shows, for seminars, for everything. Take notes, take avid notes, stay focused, stay, what I say, in the room, because I'm telling you, Blaine Oelkers is going to be giving a ton of information to you, or Oelkers, sorry. Blaine Oelkers is going to be giving you a ton of information that you can use to change your life. These people with German last names, they are fun. I love it. And he's a lot of fun too, and I cannot wait to bring him on. But reachyourpeaklibrary.com, real quick, is literally a website that I had my team assemble with you in mind. Why do I say that? That sounds kind of cheesy, doesn't it? It's not cheesy at all, because I myself did not become an avid reader of books until the age of 47. That was 11 years ago. Yep, you've all done the math by now. And the beautiful thing is I found out, wow, what an impactful thing reading the right books has on both my business life and sometimes even my personal life, and even sometimes in both. And so I began noting the books that really had that kind of impact in my life. And for every book I read that met that criteria, they ended up on this website. So not every book I've ever read is in here, but at least you can go into this one resource and pick that one book that just jumps off the page to you with the description, maybe the title, maybe the cover, whatever it is. At least it's been vetted by one more successful entrepreneur that otherwise you might just be throwing darts at a dartboard, hoping and praying for that bullseye. It just increases your likelihood of getting a lot out of it rather than just hoping that you pick the right book. Not promising it will give you the same impact it did with me, but at least the odds are increased. And by the way, this is not a website for the purpose of making money. Yes, those are affiliate links on those buttons. That I don't mind if you go anywhere else that you want to go to get your books. If you get them somewhere else, please, by all means, go ahead, find the title, go get them wherever you like to get your books. It doesn't matter as long as you get it and then read it and then watch your life begin to change in ways you never would have otherwise realized if you haven't been an avid reader of books already. Those of you that are avid readers, I'm sure you'll find a title in there you haven't read yet. Go ahead and grab it from there as well. That's enough about Reach Your Peak Library. Guess what? It's time to bring on the man of the hour. It is time for our guest expert. Let's bring him on. Here he comes. Get ready.
It's time for the guest expert spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is the one, the only Blaine Oelkers.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much for having me on. And look, you're my new best friend. You said young man. You called me a young man. That is a man after my own heart. So I appreciate that. And I will say that, I like your podcast. I've been listening for a while, and you have the servant's heart. So I really want to acknowledge that you're here to serve. And I'm sure tonight we are going to have fun, but we're also going to serve the listeners as well. So I'm excited about that. And I'm looking forward to share and serve any way I can tonight.
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show. Thanks for coming on. I am so kidding. That was awesome. You have a better intro than I do, Blaine. That was fantastic. So a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to dive in. So hang with us, stick with us. Just got to take care of our sponsors. And one of those is the Big Insider Secrets. You see the red and white stamp-looking logo that Blaine is pointing to right now. If you're watching live on video, fantastic. And by the way, if you're not, then head to themindbodybusinessshow.com, themindbodybusinessshow.com. Don't do that now. Write it down. and then register so you will get notified when we go live next time, because those who are watching live can enter to win a 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort. Again, compliments of the Big Insider Secrets. And I'm telling you, you do not want to miss that. And for those of you on now, stay to the end. You do not want to miss that. It's a bona fide, amazing vacation stay. Couple more, and then we're going to get moving with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Oelkers himself. So if you're struggling with putting a live show together and it's overwhelming and you want a lot of the processes done for you while still enabling you to put on a high quality show and connect with great people like Blaine Oelkers and grow your business all at the same time, then write this down: carpetbombmarketing.com. Then head on over to it after the conclusion of tonight's show. Carpet Bomb Marketing, saturate the marketplace with your message. And you can get a free lifetime membership to the Reach Your Peak Club. Your free membership, it includes instant access to deep discounts on major software, services, and top shelf training courses you need to run your successful business. So think of it as your entrepreneur discount house. Catapult your business to the next level and sign up for free now. Not this second, write it down, and get a hotel discount card. Check this out, worth $200 just for joining. There's no cost, not to join, no monthly fee. It is free, completely free. And then after that, go ahead and grab your deep discounts from within the club. So write this down. And then after the show, head on over to reachyourpeakclub.com, reachyourpeakclub.com. All right, let's bring on the man of the hour, Mr. Blaine Oelkers. All right, so what I love to do, Blaine, is start every show with literally the topic of, I can't even figure it out. The first word in the show's title is mind. Well, it's technically the second word, but I love to dig in, and I want to find out, for not just for myself, but for everyone watching and listening, that what is it for you? You're a successful individual. You've got a family, which is a success all by itself. You've raised kids, and they are, I'm guessing, doing very well. And
yes,
given that you're their dad, I mean, that the odds are pretty good. Just in the little time I've known you, you're also very servant based as well, and just a heart of gold. I can just see it oozing. What I love to do is really find out, because I think the core and the foundation of one's success or lack thereof is literally what's going on in between your two ears of that individual. So for you, what I want to find out is, when you get up in the morning and you know what's ahead of you, being an entrepreneur, it's all, smooth and easy sailing every day, isn't it? No, it's not. It's not anything but. It can be quite the ride, if you know what I mean. So for you, what is going on in that big, beautiful brain of yours when you get up that keeps you driven, keeps you motivated, keeps you going forward to continue to crush it day in and day out?
Yeah, great question. And I do think our lives are kind of built around days. This time, a single day, right? If you can win the day, then you can win the week, you can win the month, you can win the year. And so for me, there's two things. One is actually, and most of the listeners probably know this, they may not be doing it well enough, but it starts the day before. So I have this thing called NDP, next day planning. And I don't want to let a day end without planning the next one. So for me, before I go to bed, or even sometimes maybe around dinner time, I like to plan out the next day, so that when I wake up, I kind of know what time I need to wake up, what I'm going to be doing, and have a plan for the day. Now, if you're not a planner, you should at least lay out like top couple things you want to do for the day. And if you don't, I often tell people it's like getting on an airplane. So you go down the tarmac, you get in the airplane, you look over the cockpit, and there's no pilot in there. So you sit down, and then the flight attendant comes by and say, "Excuse me, where's the pilot?" And she says, "There is no pilot. There's no pilot today. We're not going anyplace." How long are you going to sit in that plane? Hopefully not very long. But that's what you're doing when you wake up in the morning without a plan. I say, don't get on that flight. But anyway, to keep my sanity on a daily basis, the one thing that's really helped me a lot is that I know most people, not everybody, but most people take a shower every day, and they wash their physical body. What I do in the morning is I take something called a mind shower. So every morning, and I have an app that tracks it. So I'm around, I don't know, maybe like 12, 1,300 days in a row of taking a mind shower. First thing in the morning. Now, I like a 10-minute mind shower, but if I only have 3 minutes, I'm still going to get my mind shower in. And there's a bunch of different apps you can use, but basically, it's to wash your mind out, of all the kind of the garbage and the trash and the head trash, from the previous day, and maybe even from that morning. And that really allows me to kind of set the intention for the day and to get a clear, I call it the lens of the future, but get a clear lens for what I want to happen that day. Because a lot of how you think about things kind of cause them to appear to you in one way or another. So anyway, the mind shower is my favorite. You can use Headspace is one app I use. Calm is another app. Abide is kind of a Christian version of a meditation app, and then Insight Timer, and all those apps have free versions. Insight Timer has like 100,000 different kind of meditations and different things you can do. But anyway, that's my biggest thing is the mind shower in the morning.
What's your go-to app of those you mentioned?
For the mind showers, I've been using Headspace.
Okay.
So and there's like a paid version, maybe it's like $70 a year or something like that. But what I like about it is also tracks everything. It also, if you want to go deeper, like learn about mindfulness or different types of meditation, and then you can have accountability buddies in there. So it has some pretty cool features. That's the one I use the most.
Anybody that just heard, oh, it's $70 a year for an app. That's can sound like a lot of money, but $70 is nothing compared to what the results Blaine is getting. And so if Blaine's getting those results, that means they're repeatable, which means you can get them too. And so 70 is nothing for an investment in your future and getting into a good habit. Do you include affirmations and things like that, or is it kind of pre-written for you? How does that work?
So inside there is a lot of, there's probably thousands of different types of meditation subjects. So you could figure out like what you like the best. Like I like a one person certain voice and this one, the one that I use the most. Now I also like variety. So I don't like to maybe necessarily do the same exact one every day, but the one that I've done the most is a breathing one where this gentleman walks you through, actually the owner of the company Headspace. He's got a really calming voice and he walks you through some breathing exercises. So that's probably my favorite one. I do like affirmations, kind of like positive statements. So my wife and I, we do this a journaling exercise each day, and part of that is where you write some I am statements, right? I am healthy. I am full of unconditional love. Like that's the recent one I'm working. My wife has me working on one that says I am an agreeing person. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, I like to take control of the conversation and like whatever someone says, for some reason, I'm like kind of wired just to come at it the other way. But I've been working on that, shifting that over time. But I like affirmations, and then I like affirmations, which is similar to affirmations, but it's more of a you put it in the form of a question. So instead of you could say I am healthy or I am full of unconditional love, or you can say, why do I find it so easy to be unconditionally loving, right? So you put in the form of that question, and then your mind starts to answer that. Well, because you do this, because you do that, and it kind of gives you some action steps. So this guy Noah St. John, he kind of came up with that, and I use those as well.
So I just want to point out, well, first I want to give Mary a shout out. She's a planner. I know, Mary, you have a different last name, Mary. That's awesome. Congrats on that. And yeah, she's an amazing young woman who's actually been to one of my online or one of my seminars that I spoke at as well. So she's amazing and always.
Hello, Mary.
Yes, exactly. Just show up, I always say. And she always did. She did a fantastic thing. I love that you start every day with some kind of routine. And you not only start every day, but you end every evening or near that with a plan. I have interviewed so many successful people, and nearly to a person, they all have either one or the other in the beginning of the day or the end of the day. Most of the time in the beginning. Some, not many, have two like you do. And then here's a question I often ask myself, and I know others are asking it because there'd be more people that did it otherwise. How much time does it take to go through both of the ones you just described? You described going through Headspace, you described doing journaling, and you also describe planning for the day ahead. How long does all that cumulatively take in one, for that day?
Yeah. So, if you look at, like I have a morning routine, right? So that morning routine is probably 30 minutes. So but if I wake up late or I'm strapped for time, I probably can do that morning routine in 8 minutes. So again, like I like a 10-minute mind shower, but if I need a 3-minute mind shower, I'm just going to do that. And part of the psychology behind that is I like to say win early, win often. And I would rather I call it nano size your commitment to yourself and still keep the commitment rather than miss a day. Right. So,
Mm,
with the mind shower, now the app is tracking. Now, psychologically, once you get past like 3 or 4 days in a row, you don't want to break the chain. Right. So you want to keep it going. Right. So now I'm at, maybe 1,275 days in a row. I really don't want to break that chain. So there's some power in that, but that really works because it's the progress that kind of keeps you motivated. And there's dips in motivation, or the world hits you in the face with a big problem, right? And that's when you got to dial the resistance way down and dial the size of the goal way down. So even people on exercise programs, they'll say, Blaine, I want to exercise 30 minutes a day, and I said that's great, but let's just make sure you exercise every day, no matter what. So even if you're about to get into the shower, drop and give me 5 push-ups, or do some jumping jacks or some high knees or whatever, just to get the heart rate going so that you keep that streak alive. And I say you kind of win the battle of the brain chemicals, because once you say, oh, I missed a day, well, now it all just kind of caves in on you, right? Whereas if you just make it really small, so the resistance, you got to dial the resistance down. You might have to dial it down to 30 seconds of exercise, but you probably have 30 seconds. So dial it down to where you can actually still do the thing. And that kind of keeps you motivated and keeps you going.
that's brilliant, because it just keeps the momentum going forward. And you're so right. Once you've broken that trend, it's like hard to get back on the wheel. It's like, oh, I've already failed, and we kick ourselves in the butt,
Right.
relentlessly. And I got to tell you, that right there what you just said is a bomb dropping moment, if anything was.
Oh, wow. I got
Oh,
my
yeah.
first carpet bomb drop. I love it.
Yes. Smart bombs, knowledge bombs, bombs of wisdom. And this is what I love. I love about opening the show with mindset topics, because honestly, everyone watching, everyone listening, it is by far the most important topic for successful business and successful life, bar none. And I did not know this until back when I started reading around age 47. And that's when I met my mentor, who taught me all about mindset, NLP techniques, all kinds of wonderful things. And I felt I could not wait for the next day of my life. And I'm that way every day now. It was like, I'm a Christian, but it was like a human rebirth, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But it was a reset button that I so desperately needed and didn't even know existed. And oh my gosh, if people realize that everything where you're at right now is 100% attributable, not to any outside forces, not to anyone else, not to any circumstance, everything is what's going on in your own noggin. We are all at 100% cause of where we are right now. And I know for some of you, you're going, that just pissed you off, I'm sure. And that,
Yeah,
yes.
but it's so true. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so true. And my, I know we'll probably end up talking about mentors, but my mentor was a guy named Jim Rohn, who you might have heard of. Jim Rohn, and he said, it's not what happens that determines your life future. It's what you do about what
Yes.
happens. And when he said that, I hosted him at an event, and I was, kind of in the wings there, and he was talking, and that really changed my life, because I realized that circumstances, I can't control that. I can't control what's going to happen, but I can control my response or my reaction, or what I do about what happens. And so my worry really subsided there, and it's really helped me out anyway. So it is, you're 100% true that the mindset is key. I heard this other great quote. It was, when you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. I think it was Gary Keller that said that. But the weird thing is when you hear that quote, when you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. I started hearing myself arguing for limitations in my own life. And then I started hearing all the other people. I'm too this, I'm too that. I can't this, I can't that. I'm like, Well, there's no way you're even going to get there. You're not even opening the door, right?
Yeah.
The door's already shut and locked to your mind, right? So anyway, staying open-minded, staying with they call the growth mindset, open to the possibilities, and like with the neuro-linguistic programming, programming your mind to be receptive and to be open and to see that stuff, because unfortunately, you're probably wired the other way. You're, through news media and social media and I don't know, maybe 8 out of 10 things you hear are negative, especially in the news and whatnot. So it can be a battle to switch that around, but you definitely can. And when you do, life is a lot different.
Yeah. So many. Gosh, that was like 5 bomb drops, but I don't want to rule the show with a bunch of bomb drops the whole time. Yeah. Although you are so well deserving of them all. Yeah, my mentor, his name's Mel Cutler. He's actually could be my son by age. He literally could be my child. He's 18 years my junior.
Wow.
You know what? For me, age, race, gender, religious beliefs, none of that ever matters to me in my judgment of another individual. It's their value system. Is it in alignment with mine? And if it's not, doesn't mean we have to be enemies. It's just maybe I won't spend as much time with them. But with this gentleman, Mel, it was like, I love this guy. And he would say from stage, and I don't know if he coined this exactly, but he would say something to the effect of, you can either let your circumstances control your attitude, or you can let your attitude dictate your circumstances. And what I love about that is so deep, because we are emotional beings. We are made that way. Thankfully, we are unique because of our emotions. Not all of them are good. There are some bad. And the cool thing is, you're allowed to react if you have something bad happen to you. You're allowed by design to get angry. You're allowed. It's okay. You're not only allowed, you're programmed to. The cool thing is, though, after that happens and that outburst is done, whatever your form of outburst is, it might be quiet, it might be out loud, whatever. It might be physical, it might just be internal. We have, every one of us, the choice of how quickly to overcome that emotion, how quickly to decide to go a different direction, how quickly to choose the positive path and find it. That is the beautiful thing that I learned that I didn't realize was even an option. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, I mean, from the first day I met my mentor, he was up on stage. I was in the audience back then. I ended up becoming his lead trainer for 2 years after a few years of being with him. But this was that first day. And he taught me about being at cause. And that changed my life forever from that moment. And it was so, so profound. So that's why I'm spending extra time on this one, Blaine, because it is that important, in my opinion, for everyone to really harness and take into themselves and integrate the fact that mindset is the key to your success or lack thereof. And I dare I say, even your happiness. What would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And some of those things our mentors say, it's like a seminar in just one sentence, like a whole seminar put into this one, sentence that really changes you. But yeah, I mean, I have this saying called Waiteba: what you think about, you bring about, and the mind is so powerful. That's one of the things when I was raising my kids, they're out of the nest now, but my wife and I, we really tried to teach them the power of the mind. It was so big, and it's so underutilized, and so yeah, I think it's important there. And some people need some help. I mean, sometimes, life can hit you pretty hard, and so you got to have some tools. I call it hacking the head trash. But if your mind isn't always positive, then you have to kind of start where you're at and begin to kind of rewire it. So there's a lot of cool brain science. Even just the last, let's say, 3 years, they can measure in your brain when thoughts start, what are good thoughts, what are bad thoughts. And now they used to think we had 60,000 thoughts a day, but they just proved 2 years ago, great study came out, and it's about 6,000. It's still huge, 6,000 thoughts a day, but most are negative. And being able to rewire the brain. The other cool thing they've recently found is that the brain is very plastic and malleable and can change and grow. I love some great studies that came out. Like when I was a kid growing up in high school and college, they thought the brain, like when you got to a certain age, like, adulthood, like 18 or 20, your brain stopped growing. You couldn't grow any more brain cells. At least that's what they told me, to not drink in college. But in any case, they said that your brain couldn't grow. And this great study came out about, have you ever been in London with the black taxi cabs? It's like a special
Yeah.
London taxi cab, the black cab. And in order to be able to drive that, you have to pass this test. People, only 1 out of 5 people pass the test. So people take it over and over and over. And they have to learn all the different landmarks. And London is laid out not like a grid, like Phoenix, we're all like avenues and streets. It's so easy to get everywhere. London's not like that. It's just a big mishmash. But what's interesting is they were able to measure the hippocampus of the taxi drivers, and they were orders of magnitude larger than the average people in the population. And the longer they were a driver, the bigger it was, which is that's this part of the brain that's responsible for maps and navigation. So it kind of proved that the brain, it was like a breakthrough thing that the brain can grow. And so just know, listener, wherever you're at, your brain can grow. And it's as simple as some people talk about each morning or each evening, think about 3 things you're grateful for, which is good. That's helpful. But what's even better for your brain is think about look back over the last 24 hours and think about 3 good things that happened to you in the last 24 hours. And what happens is when you do that, when you think about those 3 things for the last 24 hours, your brain starts to wire in looking for the good in the future, like the opportunity for the good. Plus, first you'll get rewarded with some good brain chemicals in thinking about those 3 good things that happened in the last 24 hours. But over time, and literally, it begins to wire in about 21 days, but it takes 63 days to actually wire in a new habit. But anyway, that will dramatically help to switch it, because I know not everybody has the great attitude 100% of the time, right? And we could do a deep dive into habits as well. But anyway, sorry, I just kind of went on a soapbox there for a moment.
I love it. I love it. Soapbox away all day. And for those of you watching, because now I'm seeing what Blaine is capable of, we're taking this show an extra hour. I know you have a meeting, Blaine, but you're just going to have to. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I am loving this. Oh, yeah. Rocky Becerra says true. Mary was loving it. Oh, my goodness. I think I know. Rocky must be some related to someone else I know. Maybe not.
Oh, nice to have the live people on. So thank you, live watchers or listeners.
And yeah, I do appreciate interaction, and ask Blaine a question if you have one. Say hi. Let us know where you're from. We'll give you a quick shout out on the show. I'm all about giving exposure, especially to those who deserve it, and everyone that spends their time. You're here spending your valuable time watching and listening to an amazing gentleman by the name of Blaine Oelkers, and give yourself a pat on the back for doing that, for investing your time. That's one thing none of us ever get back is time. It's the most valuable commodity. It's way more valuable than money. So we both appreciate you for spending your time with us, but also commend you for growing by listening to amazing people like Mr. Blaine Oelkers. So keep doing what you're doing. Yes, we have a Facebook user, Nameless, that is good to see you and nice to meet you, Blaine. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Facebook user.
I always see that one on a lot of shows, Facebook user.
Oh, good. We have a question that's just coming in. I think we know the answer. You've set it up several times. Mary asks, how long have you been doing brain showers? Maybe you took a break during that 4-year period, or that you have already finished?
Yeah. So I've, I did something like mind showers, for a long time. But right now I have in Headspace, I have about 1,275 days in a row that I've done the mind shower. Now, again, I like 10 minutes. But you know what? If I'm short on time, I'll do a 3-minute one. And I can do a 3-minute one, just getting dressed, or, it's very easy to work that into my day. But I've been doing that for 1,275 days in a row. And the other things for my mind, I also do like, I like fasting, like I like intermittent fasting for the physical body, but I also like that for the mind. So I will take social media fasts. I'll do news media fasting. So I like to do fasting for the mind as well. And even maybe certain foods, I enjoy a glass of wine, but maybe I'll do, I'll have no alcohol for a month or 2 or something like that. So I like to do the fasting, side of things as well.
I have never heard of that. That is such a genius concept, is fasting for the mind. That is freaking awesome.
Yeah. So and some people, just start wherever you can, right? Like with the social media. Sometimes people, I just say, well, just try to like if you're watching it all the time, just go for a few hours without it, right? Or maybe you could do a half a day, right? Or maybe you can do one day, whatever the case may be. Now, sometimes you have to do it for business. So
Right.
there's times where I'm fasting, but I have to go in for a business purpose. And then, to be honest, I don't have enough willpower sometimes, so I set a timer. I tell Siri, I'm going in here for 10 minutes, Siri, and get me out of here. Set a timer for 10 minutes and then get me out of here. So I set timers, so I kind of make sure I kind of do what I need to do and get out of there.
Fantastic. Yes. And Mary said, I really like that idea. I just really like that idea. Facebook user says the same thing. Cool idea. I just love saying Facebook user. And yes, Rocky, I can read this live for sure. Thank you for commenting and engaging. And yes, Mary says fasting is important. It is. I rarely eat any meal before 11:30 to 12 o'clock noon. And it's just there's a lot written on the topic, and it is actually very healthy. And there's a lot also concerning fasting and still exercising, and should you, and is it safe, and all that good stuff. And the good news is it is, and there are books written on it. So I'd recommend that anyone that's got any hesitation over that or resistance to that concept is pick up a book. And maybe Blaine, you have one in the tip of your tongue that's a good one to go after. I'm trying to think of the one I read years
Yeah,
ago.
I think, you could just Google it and find a lot of
True.
information on intermittent fasting. Now some people, they might get a headache and medically maybe they can't do it, but 90% of the population can do it, and you're already doing it, right? So you go to bed, and then in the morning you have breakfast, which is you're breaking the fast, breakfast from the night before. And so what I tell people, like if you want to like a little weight control, is just after dinner, don't eat. Like just don't eat. So let's say you finish dinner at 7 o'clock at night. Don't eat. And don't eat any, just have water only until you go to bed, then go to bed. Then the next morning, let's say you have breakfast at 7 a.m. Well, now you just did a 12-hour fast, which is pretty good because the intermittent fasters typically like to go about 16 hours,
Yeah.
and then they eat in an 8-hour window. Right. But anyway, you just did 12 right there. Right. And so then you start to push breakfast back, like, Brian and I have, to where we typically I don't eat something either till 11 or noon. And for me, like, that's the time my body digestion takes a lot of work on your, from your body, a lot of energy. And so that's where a lot of like healing happens. And you just kind of give your body a rest, from all the digestion. So anyway, yeah, I really do like that. And hey, mind, body, business. So good tip for the body part of the show.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so we know the mysterious user is my buddy Tim Gillette. He has his own show as well. Very astute businessman out of Texas, I believe, somewhere out of Texas. So yeah, it's we
All
got a
right,
little
welcome,
technical
Tim.
glitch, but thank you for clarifying that, Tim. Now I know who Facebook user is. Like, that is awesome. So, oh my goodness, I do want to get this in before we finish the show. I'm being mindful of the time. I know you do have something right when we're done, and that's another thing is, folks out there, be as respectful as you can with other people's time and stay within your schedule. And I hope I don't just mess that all up by going too long tonight, because I get into it. So, Blaine, feel free to remind me. You have my express permission. Hey, we're
Yeah,
coming up on 5 minutes, Brian. You're kind of going long here. We can have fun too. That's good. But what I wanted to do is, I don't think anyone here even knows what it is you do as a business. And that would be a disservice to everyone watching, to leave it at that way. And you've done something that's very impressive, at least to me. And that is, you have been on a TEDx talk. You did a TEDx talk. And I just wanted to showcase what it is you do, give you the opportunity to showcase that. What is your ideal target market? Like, what does your ideal client look like? Is it a man, a woman, a certain age, a group, a corporation? What is it? And if you don't mind, explain what you do for that individual or group. And then it's a 3-parter, so I know you'll remember it all. And if you have a success story or two you'd like to share, I would love for you to have the ability to do that as well. So I'm going to pull up your site while you have that wonderful moment of glory and let everybody know what it
Yeah.
is you do.
So yeah, let me just share a couple of of moments of dawning comprehension. So I really had two moments of dawning comprehension that set me on a path to where I am today. And so moments of dawning comprehension is where the light bulb goes off and all of a sudden things make sense, right? And so the first one happened for me in college. And so in college, maybe like you, I've always been a little bit of a seeker. How can I do better? I'm, always into like self-improvement, self-development. And I saw this little ad for an audio cassette tape. So great. I'm dating myself. Yes, this was in the 80s. And I saw this ad for, it was an abridged version of the book Think and Grow Rich, read by Earl Nightingale, who actually turned out to be another one of my mentors. Anyway, so I sent away for this audio tape. And I listened to this book about Think and Grow Rich. Now it talked about finances, but it was also about growing rich, in peace of mind, in relationships, in health. And so then I ended up buying the book, and I read the book in college, and I realized in that moment, and later I created a little saying, why table? What you think about, you bring about. And so I realized in that moment that by controlling what I thought about, I could really direct my life. Now, I couldn't control the circumstances, like we talked earlier. I can't control the circumstances of life, but I can control my reaction to the circumstances, right? So that determines where we end up in life, right? So my mentor, Jim Rohn, he would say, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination. It's the set of the sail. And so no matter, the winds of change, the winds of opportunity, the winds of danger, all these winds are going to be blowing on us, but where you end up, it's the set of the sail. And that's your thinking. And so I read that book, and I had a lot of success. I met my wife in college. We're still married 30 years later, and I had a lot of success. And I had this concept of white table. What you think about, you bring about. And so my degree's in computer science. So my dawning comprehension moment number 2 came when I was coming back from a business trip, and I worked for this company called Rational Software Corporation, which turns out Brian and I programmed in the same language, Ada. That's a cool story. That's for another time. But so I was doing this. I was on a business trip with them, and I come back, and my son is giving me the cold shoulder. And I'm like, hey, Beth, why is Bo giving me the cold shoulder? And she said, well, you were gone so long, he kind of forgot who you were.
Ooh.
And like emotionally, that hit me hard. And then I realized, wait a second, when I was a kid, both my parents worked, and my brother a lot of times wasn't home. So I would come home to the empty house. So many, all these emotions come up. And that night I made what I call a clarifying decision. And I said, no matter what, I'm going to work from home. No matter what, I'm going to figure out how can I work from home. Now, it took me a year. I started 2 businesses, and our marriage, it was a difficult time for our marriage, during that, because I was at the full-time job and trying to kick off 2 businesses. But a year later, I broke free from that job. And that was 27 years ago. So for the last 27 years, I've worked from home, owning my own business. And what it did is it gave me the time, because all my businesses typically have no daily operations that I'm responsible for. But it gave me the time to do the self-development and the discovery. And I realized what I like to do, and what I think God's put me here to do, is help people take control of their lives by taking control of themselves, something I call personal implementation, kind of getting yourself to do the stuff you should be doing, but you might not be doing. And so I started a company called Selffluence, and I started doing this for people, and then I started doing it for mastermind groups. So the clients that I ended up serving were business owners. So I have a bunch of mastermind groups where I'm the chief results officer, and they said they called me that, and I go, I like that title, chief results officer, because I like helping people get stuff done, get the dopamine going in the brain. And so I actually realized nobody else had used that term. So I went to the Patent and Trademark Office in the United States, and I got the registered trademark, the R with the circle. It took about 6 months, but I got it. So now I can say I'm America's only chief results officer. And primarily what I do is help people get results, help people with personal implementation, doing the things they know they need to get done. And I actually, most entrepreneurs, I'm sorry to say, but most entrepreneurs are a day behind in stuff. And so what I really like to do is take them from being a day behind to kind of just being behind, then being caught up, then being ahead, and then being a day ahead. So I have this whole concept of what I call a day ahead entrepreneur. So when you wake up, you might have appointments like do this podcast, but all your to-dos are done already, and you're kind of working on stuff for tomorrow or out in the future. So that's what I love to do best. I have a lot of success stories. I have this one guy, Phil. He's a veterinarian surgeon, and he was so far behind. He had 2,000 emails. And they just kept coming in, and he could get rid of 100 and there'd be 100 new ones. But putting some of these things into practice. And one of the things I like to do the most is I run something called a super results day. And that's where we get on Zoom every 3 hours and everybody kind of crushes their to-do list, but it's in a group setting. So you tend to get a lot more done. And then we kind of mastermind a certain topic. But anyway, it took him probably maybe about a year to 14 months. And they started coming down and down. And today he's at 50. So he processed all those other ones, and he's down to 50, and maybe it's somewhere between 40 and 70 every day that he keeps it at. And he got to that point where he's living a day ahead. He cut his work week down. He's a surgeon. He was doing surgery 3 days a week. Now he's down to 2, and he's much more efficient in the way he does it. So anyway, what you had put on the screen there is one of the things I'd like to offer people is my TEDx talk. So if you go to BlaineTEDx.com, BLAINETEDx.com, you can opt in and get my talk. And so a TEDx talk is a talk where you share one big idea. My talk, I think, is 14 minutes. They have to be under 18 minutes. Mine's 14 minutes. And I share kind of an elegant results technique, which I know Brian would like because it has some neuro-linguistic programming in there. But it's so that you can remind yourself of whatever you're trying to bring about or become. You can remind yourself automatically 100+ times a day. And there's no willpower, you don't have to do anything special. It kind of happens automatically. So anyway, that's my talk. But if you opt in, we'll be connected. You'll have my email. If I could serve you in any way, I'd be happy to do what I can.
Yeah, and I did that prior to the show. I was stalking you, Blaine. No, I was just doing my research as I should as the host, and loved the talk, the opening story. I'm not going to give it away. And you understand the mastery of speaking through stories, and by getting to people through stories, and it makes it very compelling and very welcoming and interesting on top of everything else. And thought you did a phenomenal job. And it looked like it was several years ago that you did this. And I love the fact that you now have this and you can use this to help change lives for the better. And I like the whole Waiteba concept. It's like what you think about, you bring about. And that is so true. As the body think, or as the mind thinketh, and things like that we've heard of, Think and Grow Rich. It's very much down a similar path. And the TED Talk is wonderful. So for everyone watching and listening, it costs you nothing. You just click that button, you opt in. His system will send you the link to go watch that cool video. And like you said, was it 14 minutes you said?
Yeah, 14 minutes. And I think we're up to 225,000 views. So it's done well as a TED Talk. I also give you a transcript, as well. So yeah. And it's, I think it's impactful for people, and it's got a pretty simple technique that you can use to help kind of program your mind a little bit, to help to work for you, not against you.
And I love how you even gave props to your wife for putting together those lights on the bottom of the stage. That's
Yes.
White Deva. I was like, all right. I love a man who lifts up their wife. I love that.
She's my rock, and I still have those lights today. And it was a big bucket list item for me too. So it was a little nerve-wracking, obviously, but it was great. And again, like it's service to many leads to greatness, and that's really kind of why we're all here. And what I do, I love what I do. I even kid around. We have this thing in our world. We talk about the Powerball test, and that is, if you won the Powerball, would you still go do what you do? And even if I won the $1 billion Powerball yesterday, I would still be here doing this podcast tonight, because this is what I feel I'm called to do, and I enjoy doing it, and I like to help people.
And it's so obviously true. And before we get beyond it, I want everyone that's listening on this podcast after the fact, and those that are watching the recording, you can see it on the screen, but I'm going to, for our listeners, let them know how to get to that website. It's Blaine, BLAINE, TEDx, TEDx TEDx.com. So just type in Blaine TEDx.com. And for those of you that like to put in the HTTPS in front, make sure there is no S, and that way you'll get to it successfully. And definitely go there. And it's 14 minutes of your time. And you can tell this is not a guy who's going to spam you to death or hit you with lots and lots of offers. I hope that I get an offer from him, because that means he's then growing his business and that he is out there helping more people. I look for stuff like that. I want, if I'm opting into something, I now have a different mindset. It's like, give me what you got. I want to see it. I'm not like, oh, you're probably going to hit me with an offer. I'm thinking, yeah, let's see it. I want to see what you're up to. And then before I go too far on another one, Don Hoperich, a good friend, local Chamber of Commerce genius of a man, and just another heart-centered guy. He was talking about, when we were talking about start on time and end on time, the golden rule. Yeah, and he's a golden guy, and that's what I love. Why I love it. What I get to do is because I get to surround myself with wonderful, amazing people like you, like Don, like Tim, and Mary, who also says her hubby lifts her up. That's fantastic. I love hearing that. Love it, love it, love it. All right, I'm being mindful of the time, Blaine. Being mindful. I want to keep this thing rolling, because that is actually a pretty astounding gift for all of you. Is, he went through, I can't imagine what you went through to prep for that, the nerves you went through a lot to be able to give back to everyone, that they could learn from you and improve based on you getting through your nerves, you getting through all the commitment, the time, wherever you went to do that. Maybe it was a long trip, I don't know, but there was a commitment of time. Your wife put together a fantastic light show for you, and there was a lot put into that. And that's what I love when I see things like that. I'm digging in to look at, well, what kind of preparation did that individual do? I could tell with you it was deep and good. Not good, it was excellent, because you even added the lights to it. I'm like, wow, they let him put that on the stage. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to say, hey, babe, look at what they did. I want one of those. I'll have her reach out to your wife and say, how'd you make that?
Yeah, and if people are interested in being a TEDx speaker, reach out to me. I definitely, I have actually some notes that I put together, but they also, TEDx gives you like a little coach person, and there is a lot of work to try to make it the best it can be. But these TEDx meetings or speaking opportunities happen in most major cities a couple of times a year, and you can apply. So they have an open enrollment period where you can apply in different cities or in your own city. And yeah, now a lot of times they do ask for an example of the video. Somebody nominated me for it, luckily for me, but then I had some videos of me presenting, so that's they kind of do look for that. But I'm happy to help people. If someone's thinking about doing that, reach out to me, and I can kind of give you my notes and show you the ropes a little bit.
That's always been on my target list, so I'll be the first to raise my hand.
Let's get her done then. Yes, let's get Brian on the TEDx stage.
I mean, I just so enjoyed speaking from stage for those years with my mentor, and then I got my own going for a few events. We had 3 events, and then we were saddled with this thing that closed us down for a while. But then we had this virtual way to get things done, which I love. Yeah. There is still no substitute for being in the same room with the other individuals. You feed off of them. You hear a lot of people talk about the energy. You know what? It's true. And then, as you know, Blaine, you're standing up on a stage and you're speaking to a group of people. You can see all the way to the back, and you can tell exactly what the person in the back is doing, even though they're way back there. You can tell if they're sleeping, if they're paying attention, if they're avidly writing notes. It's amazing. And then you get to feel and feed off of it. And especially those in the front row, they're committed. That the ones that sit in the front are always after it. They're always wanting the most out of their experience. And you learn so much from speaking on the stage, and you just get so much in return. It's just so fulfilling, especially when you're doing something that has an impact in a positive way on people.
Yeah, for sure. And the experience is different, when you're in the live room and you're really focused in on it. And so, yeah, I agree 100%.
I'm curious, do you know what the average audience size is for a TEDx talk live in there? I could tell there were people there. I just couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's it's a wide range. So at mine, I was in a theater, a little bit like a high school amphitheater, right? Okay. So maybe there was 100 to 150 people. There are some that are smaller, some that are in a small venue with 20 to 30 people. Then there's some that are in venues that could be hundreds of people. Then some like big universities do one where, there could be 1,000 people, in there. So it's a lot of different venues. And and that's TEDx, and that's the one that happens in all cities. Then there's TED. That's where, it's the big stage, and there'll be tens of thousands of people kind of watching it live, and you kind of have to work your way into those. But the TEDx, I mean, there's a lot of great people have done those talks, and then TEDx and TED, they curate them all like on their own, and they actually, help to promote it, and so it works out well. I've gotten a lot of, great kind of people reaching out to me because of the TEDx talk.
Yeah, and I'm such a big proponent of massive exposure, and that is another phenomenal component of that. We're here on video, so that means anyone that comes on video to either as a guest or a host, you have what it takes. If you're thinking, oh, that's not going to be something I can do, yes, you can. We all have far more gifts than we give ourselves credit for. So for anyone that might be sitting the fence or just flat out saying that's not for me, think again, reconsider, because it can be life-changing. It's done a lot of good for Blaine. It's done a lot of good for a lot of people I know. I just had a very dear friend do a TEDx in Frankfurt, Germany, because that's where she grew up, was in Germany. I don't know if it was Frankfurt, but and that was just, I think, a week ago. And it's just amazing and so exciting to see people I love who are making a huge impact on the world be able to make a greater impact. That's the
well, and I think, even you, I mean, for you right here, Brian Kelly, you're doing these shows and you're putting them online, and they have high value, and you're interviewing, great people, and you've got great knowledge, and all leaders are readers, and you've got a great show here, great information piece. And I will go on record as saying that you're having a big impact and that you're touching lives not yet born. So there's somebody that's not even born yet. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they may be watching it from Mars, but they're gonna pick up your series, your show, and it's going to help them. It's going to help them with their mindset, with their body, and with their business. So kudos to you. I know it's a lot of work, and you got a team, and you got virtual assistants, and all these things are happening to put together this big show. But I just want to say, on behalf of everybody listening, thank you for going through the effort to get this information out there.
Wow, thank you. And I'd like to be the first to say hello to everyone from Mars that's watching this years in the future.
Right, out in the future.
And kudos to you for taking the risk to go up there and live, because that takes a lot right there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a good thing. Risk takers are what make the world go around. That's what entrepreneurship is big part about. It's calculated risk as much as you can make it. But so we're getting close to the end. Doggone it.
Yep,
but what I love to do, what I love to do is end every show with a very special question, Blaine. And I used to ask this on occasion. This is going back a couple years ago. And I just started realizing, my gosh, the answers I'm getting are pretty profound. I've got to keep this going somehow, some way. And I decided to make it the end question of every show going forward. And with your permission later, I will be compiling a collaborative book or books, depending on how thick this thing ends up getting, with all of these answers, because it's that profound and it can be that helpful to the end reader, and in this case right now, listener and viewer. So right before I do that, I promised everyone that stayed on live until the end, they would get the opportunity to win a 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort. Compliments of the Big Insider Secrets. I'm going fast because Blaine needs to go. The logo you see up there. Yes, thank you, Blaine. And so I'm going to pull it up on the screen right now. Get out your pen, write this down. You do not have to enter right now. Please do not, because you'll want to listen to Blaine's answer. Here it is. It's on the screen right now. You want to go to, write this down, ryp.im/vacation, all lowercase, ryp.im/vacation. If you're watching live right now, you have the ability to enter. You can do this 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes after the show. We'll still get it. You'll be entered, and we'll announce the winner a little bit later this evening after we collect those. So be sure to do that. And now back to the man, the myth, the legend himself, and the big question. Oh, yes. Thank you, Mary. Wow, that's good. She's giving applause. I don't know what for. It's probably for Blaine. So
no, that's for you, and it's appearing on Mars.
That's right. Coming to you live from Earth. So, all right. So the beautiful thing about this question, there's so many beautiful things, but Blaine, one of the greatest parts to it is that there is no such thing as a wrong answer. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. The exact opposite is the true, which is even more fun. The only correct answer is yours. And the reason is because it's unique to you. And so if it takes you a microsecond to come up with the answer, or if it takes you 10, 15, 30 seconds to come up with the answer, that is still nothing wrong with that. It is absolutely perfect because it is your answer. There's nothing you can do wrong about it. So does that sound cool?
That sounds great.
All right. So with that, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Blaine Oelkers, how do you define success?
Okay, how do I define success? I like a combination of definitions that I got from Earl Nightingale and Jim Rohn. And basically, Earl Nightingale said success was the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And Jim Rohn said that success was you moving towards your personal goal. So what I believe success is personal, right? So if someone says, hey, I want to be a great school teacher, if they're moving towards that, becoming a great school teacher, they're successful, right? So I think it's up to you what you define as where you want to go. I call that your point B, going from point A to point B, but where you want to go. And if you're moving towards that, then you're a success. That would be my definition of success is moving towards your personal goals.
And you know how we have to end this, don't you? It's coming. There it is. Yes. Another bomb. Knowledge bombs. Bombs of wisdom. That is the definition of one Mr. Blaine Oelkers. And I want to tell you personally and with feeling, I appreciate you for spending your valuable time here with me tonight and with everyone else who's been watching and listening, those who listen on podcasts later, and those of you watching or listening from Mars. Every one of you is going to be phenomenally impacted. I hope you took notes and I hope you take action. Any last, I know you're really stressed on time, Blaine. Any parting words of advice before we call it a night?
Yes, I'm going to leave you with this. The bad news is that time flies. The good news, you're the pilot. So pilot well, my friends. Pilot well.
I love it. So we must call an end to this show. Unfortunately, I know we should go on for another 2 hours. Maybe we'll call Blaine back later.
Yes, I'd love to be back. There you go.
Out of respect for this gentleman and everyone else who came on the show that knows it's an hour in length, we're going to call it a show. On behalf of the amazing Blaine Oelkers, I am your host, Brian Kelly of the Mind Body Business Show. Until next time, keep crushing it, keep serving, and above all, everyone, please be blessed. Take care for now. So long. Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Body Business Show podcast at www.themindbodybusinessshow.com. My name is Brian Kelly.